Senator Johnson, thanks. It's good to see you this morning.
Good morning. Glad to be back.
Congrats on the victory.
Thank you very much.
So it appears as though the Texas House is poised to move further to the right. What do you envision you can accomplish, Texas Democrats can accomplish in the next legislative session?
Ironically, I think we have been moved from a position of less influence to a position of more.
Explain that.
Well, we have an incoming group of right-wing Republicans, and maybe they think that's a compliment. I don't, and I don't mean it pejorative. That's a description. They have run on very narrow issues that really don't have a whole lot to do with what we need to do in the legislature. Those issues are going to get boring and old really quickly. You're going to try to outlaw abortion for the 12th time. You're going to get a voucher bill passed. Hopefully not, but they may get something like that passed. Meanwhile, we have a $2.5 trillion economy and 30 million people in a very complex society. And those simple, facile answers that they're campaigning on are going to be useless in the legislative session. But the work still has to get done, so who's going to do it? It is an opportunity for productive-minded, experienced, serious legislators as Democrats and as Republicans to take the lead and get things done, because I don't think the incoming class is going to be able to. I also think that there's going to be a lot of time spent this next session trying to heal the divisions in all the primaries, but particularly on the Republican side. There's going to be a high level of dysfunction that will be a loose ball, and someone's got to pick it up. I think Democrats are in a good position to be more influential than they've been in quite a long time.
How do you exploit that? Particularly, let's talk policy when it comes to school vouchers. Is there any opportunity for you to negotiate, or will a voucher plan just pass?
I mean, I don't take a negotiating approach to vouchers. I don't see a way for me to ever vote for them. Will it just pass? I don't know. I mean, there's still some primary runoffs out there, and we have to see how those turn out. If it passes, in what form, how damaging will it be? So I don't know what's going to come out on that one. The political opportunity, I don't think lies so much in what we do with vouchers, although, if they're going to move it, I'd like to hammer it into some form where it has a better chance of causing less damage, and if it can do any good, maybe frame it that way. But the more important thing is that the larger public education issues get addressed. So that's where the real opportunity is. If they're going to move this little bill, well, then can we finally get done all the work that for the last 2 years didn't get done in the legislative session? We need some clear-headed leadership in the education space. Not the whole thing to be taken hostage by vouchers. If they're going to pass it, they're going to pass it, but let's not neglect the rest of the work that we have to do.
Yeah, we see a lot of districts laying people off. We hear about, teachers who are quitting because they're just done. So you're saying, let's not tie these two issues together. Teachers deserve a pay raise, schools deserve to be funded, and vouchers is a different situation.
It was the single biggest failure of the last legislative session to link the public education responsibilities of the legislature to a voucher program. That was the worst thing that could have happened, and it took down the whole project. I don't think it will happen again, because I think that everybody in government knows that the voters will not tolerate it happening again. And if it happens again, I think we will see results at the ballot box.
You voted to convict Attorney General Ken Paxton
14 times, yes.
14 times in the impeachment trial in the Senate. He now appears to be sort of going after his opponents with a vengeance. Are you concerned with the power you see him wielding across the state?
I'm very concerned. He is a wrecking ball with backward social policies that he uses to rile up a voter base, really to the neglect of work that ought to be being done by that office, and to the great detriment of those he comes after. And I don't just mean legislators who he's targeting, who did the right thing by impeaching him. And the impeachment is an indictment on what had gone on. It's outrageous. It's even more outrageous that he's having any success in trying to take out these very, very conservative members who simply did the right thing in that case. But he's going after the private entities, charities, philanthropies. And it's really creating a hostile, toxic environment for the state of Texas that does great damage, and I think it needs to be reversed, and soon.
What will be your number one issue when you go into the next legislative session?
I'll use one word that will describe a few things, and that is infrastructure. Texas is a huge state, but we're going to get much huger. I don't think huger is a word, but I'm going to use it anyway. We have 30 million people. We have a nearly $2.5 trillion economy. We are growing in every respect, in population, in production, gross domestic product, higher education. We have a ton of money. And if we don't prepare our infrastructure with some of that money, we will not be ready for the future. Many, many millions of people are coming here. Businesses will keep coming here because of these intrinsic advantages we have in this state. If we don't build the infrastructure in terms of public education, public health, transportation, water, and energy, we are going to collapse under the weight of our own success. And I think there's been too much attention paid to backward social issues and not enough attention paid to things like water, electricity, education, healthcare, and transportation. So the one thing I'm going after is infrastructure, but it means those 5 things, all of them have to have our attention. And that's why it also isn't helpful to be simplistic minded when you come into the legislature. You can't just come in here and be the anti-abortion person or whatever your issue is. You got to tend to all this stuff. That's why you were elected ultimately, and it is your responsibility.
How would you counsel some of the new members who will be coming in after we go through a general election to start in 2025?
Yeah, and this would include people who I think are running on very unsubstantive, narrow issues. I give everyone a chance. People gave me a chance when I was elected, and you can see a lot of members change over the course of a session or 2 or 3 to where they thought things were simple and they could just run on a dogmatic little list. But actually there's real work to be done. So the advice I would give to them is listen for a little while. Go talk to some people who you might not otherwise talk to and see if you can understand that building. Because your success depends on recognizing that you are in a brand new environment and it's a profession and it requires experience and skill and patience that the electoral process doesn't necessarily send you there with. So go in and learn from some people who are there, whoever it is, and pick somebody who you might not otherwise think that you could learn from.
Last question for you. The primary that you were in did not get nasty, but we saw some pretty nasty primary ads on the airwaves. How do you bounce back from that? You talked about how some of the relationships in the Republican side seem to probably need some repairs. How do you bounce back after a nasty primary?
You know, when I see what went on the Republican side, it's devastating to the functioning of the body because politics ultimately is pretty personal. I know that people who have misleading propaganda thrown against them are angry about it for a long time, and it takes time to get over. How do you bounce back? I think you have to take a look at the seriousness of the job before you and put the job ahead of your own feelings. And we will see whether or not legislators and executive leadership at the governor, lieutenant governor, whoever the speaker is going to be, if it's Dade Phelan or somebody else, are we able to put that stuff past us and concentrate on the work that we have to get done? It's a bigger task than any one of us, and I think that's key. But I think there's going to be some thirst for vengeance out there, and that will be a factor next session, and I understand it.
Senator Johnson, we'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks for talking with me this morning.